By July 1861, a few months after Confederate troops opened fire on Fort Sumner and began the Civil War, the North was eager for the Union Army to make a move on Richmond before the already planned meeting of the Confederate Congress. President Abe Lincoln was encouraged by previous wins of the Union Army to make an offense that would open the way to Richmond. It was supposed to be quick. The Union Army would begin their attack on 20,000 Confederate troops under Beauregard, camped near Manassas, Virginia. General McDowell pushed his army westward to confront the Confederate forces. Beauregard fell back so that he could defend the railroad at Manassas while protecting roads to Richmond. Beauregard defended the crossings of the stream Bull Run. Union Division Commander Daniel Tyler was sent on a mission to Black Hern's Fort. Richardson's brigade advance encountered still resistance from Confederate troops under James Longstreet. Tyler's repulse convinced McDowell he should cross somewhere else. In the Shenandoah Valley, General Johnston slipped away from General Patterson. Johnston, 8 troops marched to the Manassas Railroad, where they got on trains at Manassas. This helped equal out the Confederate and Union Army. McDowell had an early morning advantage, but it took precise timing and synchronization. There were many delays with the Green Army, which ultimately led to McDowell's plan to be given away. Two groups make their way and cross at Sudley Fort. They travel to be behind the Confederates' left flank. Beauregard believes this is a distraction, so he sends out 3 brigades to deal with the issue. All meanwhile, he was planning an attack of his own on the Union left. During this battle, there were 28,450 Union soldiers and 32,230 Confederates. In the morning, the Union soldiers had an advantage, forcing Confederates away from Matthews Hill. The Confederates were backed up and would end up at the house of widow Judith Henry. At the house of Judith Henry was an army of Virginia regiments led by General Thomas J. Jackson. With Jackson having hidden infantry within tall grass and behind his artillery, he forced the Confederates to change from scattered artillery to a line on the eastern slopes of the hill. The Confederates then took their time to fix their line. McDowell paused on the attack. After speaking with his other forces, he decides to move more groups into Bull's Run. While doing so, he waits in Chin Ridge, which is west of Henry Hill. McDowell places some artillery on Henry Hill, which was by Jackson's artillery. This would ultimately cause a breakout between the two, and Judith Henry was massacred during the crossfire. As the outbreak was occurring, a Confederate general by the name of Bernard Bee created his own army to go against Jackson. He said that Jackson was standing there like a stone wall, giving him that nickname. Bernard Bee ended up dying in this rally. The Confederates, although outranked by the Union, usually attacked them first. Both sides gathered more troops. Unions were able to bring more infrastructure and cannons to the fight. They were forced to fall back to Henry Hill. Disorganized Confederate soldiers on the backside of Henry Hill and more troops arrived. Jackson, a Confederate, set up his line with 13 short-range cannons. In the afternoon of July 21st, a group of Confederates rallied by Colonel Jubal Early. They brought in the Confederate line and would attack the Union right flank, Chinn Ridge. This causes Jackson's men to push forward on Henry Hill, but also push the Federal infantry down. The word of the Union's withdrawing spreads to the flanks. Colonel James Ewell led Confederates onto the field, where they scattered and attacked Union regiments. The Federals would end up retreating. The First Battle of Bull Run was the first battle of the Civil War. There were two main railroads, the Orange and the Alexandria. They connected 30 miles southwest of Washington, D.C. This is important because it was a key line of battle for the Unions. The Manassas Gap was what the Confederates used to link Johnston and Beauregard's army. At the end of the First Battle of Bull Run, the estimated casualties for the Union forces was 2,708, and for the Confederate forces was 1,982.